Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and you're actually gonna see me live doing my assignments in the game. But on a serious note, I love the direction we're going in Honkai Star Rail. Lately, we've been seeing a lot of silverwolf related news or updates, or basically how the character is broken. And you guys know me, I told you she was good. I told y'all she was gonna be a cracked out character, and I had a lot of flack. I caught so much flack for this, but I'm not here to gloat about being right. What I am here to do today in this video is to pretty much go over the simple fact that we are entering a new meta. I know I said that before, but like literally there are things changing about the game, and we can look at 1.1's patch to really go into detail about that. But before we do that, has anyone actually noticed that Silverwolf's portrait mode, when you go into the menu, she has a Game Boy case. Her case is a Game Boy. You got favorite character in the game, free, easy. So for those that don't know, right now during 1.1's patch, there was a really big update, and the update is like a secret buff to a particular class, that class being Nihility. The update basically states that they felt the effect resistance of the higher level enemies were too high, and because of that, they were going to reduce it. Now, at the time of me making my guide, as well as a few other creators, we had no idea this was even a thing. And then as they released everything, we got 1.1's patch, we also didn't know the numbers. Now that we know the numbers are speculated to be around 40% based off some other people doing the testing and whatnot. So let's just roll with 40%. In the guide, I mentioned that if we needed about 146, so somewhere between 130% to 150% of effect hit rate in order to really get 100% guaranteed everything across the board with Silverwolf in particular. Well, that was at 50%. In the same video, I showed you guys that at 30%, that number drastically reduced. And that was showing you that her E2 with the 20% resistance nullifier, it makes a big deal. And so now we get into the point where they've reduced 50% across the entire game to 40%. And this is, again, the speculated number. Someone can confirm this in the comments, I'm sure. 10% makes a big deal. I get that some people think that's not really a lot, right? Like, oh, 10% doesn't really matter. 10% more damage, that's not really that gonna be a big deal, blah, 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 whatever. That's only like 800 more attack, whatever. Whatever it is that you feel like 10% is very small, it's not, especially when it comes to that particular formula for effect hit rate, because effect resistance is directly tied to effect hit rate among a number of other things. So now we're here in the game where my Silverwolf has about 113% effect hit rate, and this is well above the normal effect hit rate, right? The new effect hit rate that you would need is somewhere around 104%, and this is if your skill is, let me see, mine's level 8, right? So if your skill is level 10, which I believe is the max the skill can go without ailerons, then at level 10 you only need about 94 or 97% effect hit rate. Someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but somewhere around that ballpark. Right now, if you don't, and the average is going to be level 7 for your skill, then you're looking at about 104% for your effect hit rate. Now, why am I geeking out about Nihility? Why am I geeking out about the effect hit rate, and how does this affect everything in the game? How are we moving towards a new meta? Right now, the meta consists of some type of team constructed like this, and this can be in a variety of different teams, but for the most part, the basic team structure is going to be tank, healer, support, DPS, right? Now, if you get into a hyper carry scenario where now you have your, let's say that I didn't have, okay, whatever. Point being is that, let's say I don't have Bailu, and I replace Bailu with my Ting Yu. Now I'm into hyper carry, okay? So these have been the two standardized teams that we've seen a lot of throughout the start and up to now of Honkai Star Rail. And of course, this is all related towards Memory of Chaos. So my tank, my offensive support, and then my DPS character. I have different tastes for my teams, so you see me using different teams, but regardless, these are the things. And I'm sure like maybe some type of free-to-play team exists, right, where it's something not this is obviously not free-to-play, but what is it, like Fire MC or something like that? So you have Natasha, you have Fire MC, maybe your debuffer support character, not Silverwolf in this case. So I don't know, let's just go Bronya, Ting Yun, maybe, like even Asta works. Payla's a good example. Payla and then DPS, right? This is closer to your free-to-play, but still follows the same formula that I gave you guys earlier. You have a tank, which is going to be preservation character, Fire MC. You have your healer, which is Natasha. You have your support, which is Payla, and you have your DPS, which is Don Hung. At some point, we went into the Jing meta, which it's not called a Jing meta. It's just, erudition AoE, because Jing is going to be hitting multiple targets at once. But it's still very similar to my initial one, right? Where I had this team, but instead of Ting Yun, obviously I had Bailu, and this is the standardized team, right? A standard team. I have my main DPS, my support, so on and so forth. That existed with Jing. Now we're entering this Nihility based meta, and I'm predicting this now because I don't see it happening. It's not going to change. It's only going to get stronger. Okay. And I have a whole video coming out, which is basically me saying that Erudition has now been completely outclassed. If we're talking about power creep, which I didn't expect to happen, I didn't expect to see this power creep. They just power creeped an entire path in the game. Erudition is no more. It's gone. There's nothing setting Erudition apart from Nihility at this point, and that's a huge problem. But again, I'll talk about that in its own video. Right now, what we're gonna start seeing is teams formed around the idea of, let's say maybe you have Natasha, you want Silverwolf, you also have Welt or Pela, right? Pela, Welt can work, Sampo could work over Welt, whatever the case, any other Nihility character. You're going to start seeing double Nihility, because what's happening now that the effect resistance has been lowered universally across the board, yeah, I could buff up my Zila and that'd be great, right? But now I get more value, especially if you have Silverwolf. I get more value out of Silverwolf, not only debuffing the entire team, whether that be from defense shred or slowing them down, reducing their attack, anything like that, so that I don't take as much damage, but she's also got her own unique skill, which is going to allow me to never have to not be weak to my Zila, right? Everyone is always going to be weak to Zila because of Silverwolf on the team, or whatever your main DPS character is. You have Welt in the back. Welt's also going to help with the Nihility, because not only will Silverwolf slow them down, but Welt's slow on top of that will now stack. If Welt happens to do ultimate, which, you know, you guys have already built up some crazy strong Welts, so you're getting imprisonment every 2 to 3 turns, right? So now the enemy is imprisoned, they're entangled, their attacks reduced, their defense is shredded beyond belief. Welt slowed them down a significant amount. The enemy no longer gets to play the game. Zila's on the team. She's getting 47 turns per turn, or 47 attacks per turn. And then Natasha is just the backup healer. You could even replace Natasha with a shielder, Fire MC, Japard, whatever you want. A balls to the wall crazy concept would be replacing Natasha with an Erudition character, someone that hits AoE. But like I mentioned earlier, right? I don't need this. If I have another character that just happens to be Nihility, cough, 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 Kafka, then I could replace my Erudition character with another Nihility character. Why can I do that? Because Nihility has been buffed indirectly, mind you, beyond something that it probably shouldn't have done. And I'm not complaining at all, right? I love the fact that this was buffed, but I am going to admit this has created a major problem for Erudition class, period. I cannot see any other way around this. I can't see Erudition being like, oh, well, Erudition's still good because they hit everybody. Kafka hits everybody, right? Welt hits everybody. Pela's ultimate hits everybody. Asta is not an Erudition character or Nihility character, and she hits everybody. Sampo is a Nihility character. He hits everybody. He debuffs them, and then he applies wind dot stacks on them. Like that, it's crazy to think that the Erudition class doesn't get to do, or they don't have a signature thing, right? Because someone else already has it. So this idea of double Nihility is already being pushed. I'm already seeing MOC teams on floor 10, floor 8, floor 9 pushing double Nihility, right? Main DPS, 2 Nihility classes, and then a healer or tank or whatever. But it's moving away from this concept being that I need a healer, I need a tank. And so a lot of you, right? A lot of you are like, oh, and this was also the thing that I wanted to mention, by the way, but this leads into why I kind of consider Silverwolf a must pull. Even I said it prior to Silverwolf coming out. I'm looking at Locha. Hey, if you don't have a second healer, you kind of need Locha. If you want to participate in harder Memory of Chaos content, you kind of need a second healer. Fire MC and Natasha are just not enough. If you don't have Bailu, if you don't have Japard, you kind of need Locha. Now we're getting to a point where, let's say I didn't have Japard or Bailu. I only had Fire MC and Natasha. Well, guess what can happen? Now I could leave Fire MC and Natasha on one team. I could build a team that's so strong, thanks to Nihility, that I have crowd control, I have damage, and then I have AoE damage to get the pickups, right? To clean up things. But even if I didn't, well, let's say I want to buff up my Zila, because for whatever reason, I guess I could do that, then I could just straight up bring Ting Yun. I could bring someone to help buff up Zila. I could bring Asta for the flat speed bonus. I could bring Bronya to do whatever the case may be. All I'm saying is that now you're leaning towards this new meta where maybe you don't need the defensive unit, right? You don't need 2 defensive units anymore because of Silverwolf specifically. Not only did Nihility get buffed, but Silverwolf is cracked out of her mind right now. So there are a lot of players who are gonna be out here telling you, oh, you don't really need this character. This character's not great. This character's a bona fide Pela, bro. Like, you could just easily replace Silverwolf with Pela and you get all the same value, which is nowhere near the case. Don't believe anyone that tells you that, guys. Pela's a great character. She is not a Silverwolf. Out of everything going on here, looking at the teams that are being built and whatnot, if I didn't need Locha, if I'm looking at MOC and, you know, like I said, someone just happens to build a team and they're like, oh man, I have a free-to-play team, no Zila, but I've got a hook, right? My hook is crazy out of her mind. I got Welt for my guaranteed 5-star, and I'm looking at Locha or Silverwolf, right? Because we're very early on into the banner. But let's say you just pull a Silverwolf and you had a team like this, boom, 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 these 3 right here, and the enemy was already weak to quantum, and so now all you have to do is worry about hook. It's already weak to imaginary, because that's something that we don't have in MOC. Is Welt's the only one that can really take care of that, and a lot of the enemies are weak to imaginary. Well, you know, I could go with Fire MC, and now I've created my free-to-play Silverwolf team that focuses on implanting fire to the enemy for free. Now my Silverwolf is cracked because Nihility. My Welt is cracked because Nihility. The enemy never gets to play the game because they never get to go. They're either stuck in entanglement, they're stuck slowed to the point where I get the kill anyway, or they're imprisoned and slowed to the point where I still get the kill. It's ridiculous where this opportunity, right, this team building, this leads to. That whole Nihility thing for 1.1, the patch for the effect resistance drop, that was so big to Nihility, guys. And I know that people are talking about it. I know that we're trying to push it. I get it. Some people just don't like listening to content creators. That's fine. Don't listen to me as a content creator. Listen to me as a player who has not been wrong since. Listen to me, guys. The insight is crazy. This class is only going to get better. The next character that comes out in 1.2, she's also a Nihility. A lot of you want Mommy Dami Kafka. You know who it is. She's a Nihility class character. And when I start talking about Kafka coming up soon, and you realize that low key, I think Star Rail kind of boned Erudition class for Kafka. I don't want to say that specifically, right? Like, don't quote me on that. That's just how I feel right now. But that's all I wanted to talk to you guys today about, right? The new meta coming forward, the different things that we're going to be starting to see, double Nihility, triple Nihility, things like that. If you guys have Nihility characters, if you have Welt now, I'm going to start expecting a lot more Welts to pop up. Everyone that was like, Welt's the best, Welt's great, he's so top tier. Now you're going to start seeing Welt actually be top tier. Now you're going to start seeing Silverwolf teams dominate MOC. We're already seeing that, but still, you're going to start seeing more teams featured with double Nihility versus the double Harmony, right? We had double Harmony with Tingyun and Bronya. Now you're going to start seeing double debuff. Instead of double buff, you're going to start seeing double debuff, because now you don't need that effect here rate, right? Or Yang Xing or Japard, Pela with the freezes. There's all these different things that are happening because of the effect resistance drop, that it helps the game because we're players, right? We want that. But at the same time, it hurt other things in the game. And again, I'm not complaining specifically about that. I'm just pointing it out. At the end of the day, do whatever you want to do, but make sure you like this video and subscribe, because I want to hit 15K now. But thank you guys for 10K, by the way. I very much appreciate that. I love y'all. Platonically, of course. I can't say my user outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.